Hey, I'm Becky and I love terrible things, which makes self-love a lot easier to achieve. I've decided I want to talk about my favourite terrible films because I just have more fun with them than I do, like your Oscar-worthy films. It's a lot like going to a fancy restaurant, I enjoy it, but I have a lot more fun at a shitty pub. I'm going to talk about the Disney Original Musical Descendants, which should not be confused with the George Clooney film The Descendants, which is about a man whose wife goes into a coma and then he finds out she's been cheating on him and now he has to pull the plug. It's not that. It's not even close. It's about all of the Disney villains' kids being imprisoned on an island with their parents because that's not a totally psychotic thing for the good guys to have done. Imprison children for their parents' crimes, sure. Until one day the son of Beauty and the Beast, who is soon to be king, even though his dad is still alive, and this kid's like 16, I think, from what I can tell, because he might not be legally trusted to drink alcohol, but rule a kingdom, go ahead, that's totally chill. Anyway, the first thing Ben does is he decides to free 4 of these kids from the island prison of villains, and he decides only 4 as a test run. Just in case they're mad about being imprisoned on an island from birth and maybe do some bad stuff as repercussions. I don't know, The 4 kids that he picks are Mal, Evie, Jay, and Carlos. They are the kids of Maleficent, the Evil Queen, Jafar, and Cruella de Vil. Obviously, their names are plays on their own names because it makes sense. If you're a narcissist and you have a kid, I guess you'd name it after yourself. It's like when people call their sons Larry Jr. or something. But do you know what? A little bit more creative, if anything. You only really see the parents in the first film. There are 3 films. I should probably say that. I have watched all of them. I watched them all with my friends. It was the best time of my life. Anyway, you only ever see the parents in the first film, and this is uncomfortable. Mostly because Jay and Jafar, totally different races. Also, they somehow bring up the fact that Jafar runs a corner shop on this prison island, which doesn't make sense. Oh, and then they make this thing about how they're both kleptomaniacs, which doesn't make sense either, because when you think about it, that was Aladdin's thing. So where's that coming from? Also, there isn't a good black character until the second film. Uma arrives. She's one of the best characters, in my opinion. But even then, she is evil. I'm not saying that black people can't be the evil characters, but when they're the only black people in the films, it feels a bit sketch, do you know what I mean? I'd like to say I'm surprised with how Disney's dealt with race in this film, but I'm not. The bar's set pretty low for Disney. So long as they have a character that's not white and straight, people are like, oh my god, Disney, you're so woke, oh, I love you. To be fair, I think that is because their founder was a Nazi. You really can only go up from there. The 4 kids are told by their parents, hey, you've got to break us out of the island too. And the kids say yes, because they're their parents. And then also they're like, oh yeah, we're evil, which they like to show by wearing lots of colourful pleather. And then rapping about how they're rotten to the core. I think it's the first song. It's also the worst. Some middle-aged person went, do you know what's popular with kids these days? Rapping. We should do a rap. I'll write the rap. Not that I've ever written a rap, but I'll write it. And just to add more effect to it, we'll get the kids to rap like they've got throat infections. They all rap like, oh, we're not the kid next door. I'm not the kid next door. I'm rotten to the core. So they leave the island to join a high school in Oregon. I keep doing that, not sure why. Which is where the high school element comes in. And as we all know, a Disney original movie is not a Disney original movie without team sports, cheerleaders, and traumatised children who have been trapped on an island of the worst people in history. Honestly, this is where things get a bit boring because everyone in Oregon dresses like they play golf and own yachts. Also at this school, everyone introduces themselves by saying who their parents are, which at first I thought that's weird. That's a weird thing to do, and then I was like, maybe this is what happens at the schools where celebrities' kids go? You know? Like, Kevin Hart's kids go around introducing themselves as Kevin Hart's kids, and then they get picked on for it. So my camera died. If this looks weird, that's the reason. So the Rotten Bunch, they go to special classes that are for some reason about not poisoning people or killing babies. It's very, if they're still in the stage of rehabilitation where you have to be like, hey, when you see a defenseless baby, do not murder it. Just don't put them with all the children, you know? Anyway, the kids need to get the fairy godmother's wand, which is locked away because magic is banned now. I'm not sure why. I think because CGI budget is not big enough. They need the wand to break their parents out of this prison island place. Even though Mal has a book of magic that she's been using the whole film to do stuff like, I don't know, put a guard to sleep or make someone's hair nice, or roofie Ben. She roofies Ben so that he falls in love with her and takes her to the coronation so she can steal the wand. It's fine though. It's fine because he wakes up from the spell and he's like, oh, it's totally fine because I like you anyway. What? Did they just forget about consent in the special moral classes? Apparently they did. It doesn't even make sense why she does this because the only personality trait Ben does have is that he fancies the shit out of Mal. Like, to a point that you think maybe he orchestrated this whole thing just to get to Mal because he saw a photo of her and wanted to bang. Oh, and while he's drugged, he breaks up with his girlfriend sort of by singing a song to Mal. But that's played off as like, it's fine because his girlfriend is the bitchy girlfriend who's super vain and only wants to be with him because he's a prince. Which obviously is much worse than Mal, who just drugged him to fall in love with her so that she could use him to break her mum out of prison. That's fine. That's true love. That's true love. Obviously, by the end, Mal has learned to be good now and doesn't steal the wand. But plot twist, the fairy godmother's daughter does because she hates her nose or something like that, I'm not sure. And for some reason that triggers Mal's mum to come and become a dragon that scares us all with its terrible CGI. But that fight scene is over within seconds because Disney looked to that and was like, we're not spending any more money on this weird CGI bullshit. To be fair, they did then hand over a bunch of money to make the second and third film, which, if I'm honest, much better than the first. Did the improvements make them good films? No, not at all. But if they did, I wouldn't like them. Also, for a Disney original film, it's kind of impressive, you know? It's not just their classic idea of a girl who is unpopular for some reason, even though she's the most beautiful girl that's ever existed, and she meets a really handsome popular guy and then sings about it. You know, this one also has magic. Anyway, I guess those are all my thoughts and feelings. I don't know if I'll do this again. I just needed to make something because I can't do much. A lockdown, I need something. I need something to make me feel like I'm alive. Anyway, goodbye!